Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our Giant Science Diplomacy webinar. This is our fourth session in this year, and it's going to be the last, but we have kept the best, I would say, for the last. As you know, who have been joining us now this year, the CHI's science series is about getting an insight into the ongoing science cooperation between India and Europe. And that should happen through the perspectives of science diplomats who are living and working here in India. Now, it gives me immense pleasure that today we have not only one, but we have two science diplomats here with us, two speakers from France. Dr. Nicolas Gherardi, he's the Deputy Counsellor for Education, Science and Culture at the Embassy of France in India. A very warm welcome to you, Nicolas.
Nicola, you are muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Samrat. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you today.
Wonderful. And our second speaker is Dr. Srini Kaveri, Director of the CNRS office in India. Srini, always a pleasure. Welcome to the session.
Thank you very much, Samrat. Pleasure being with you, having a nice cup of chai with you and Nicola.
Exactly, guys. I hope you brought your cup of tea or
yes.
Chai. With you.
Where is it, Nicola? Yes.
Nicola, wonderful. Okay,
yes.
Great. So I think this is a very nice format which we have created this year to have the opportunity to get an insight into the collaboration, the activities, the perspectives of European science counselors, diplomats, and how the collaboration can be strengthened. And today the focus is on Indo-French cooperation. And so I'm very happy that the two of you are here. And we will start with a bit to tell the audience a bit about yourselves. So I would ask Nicola, if you could tell us a bit about yourself, about your previous work, what led you to become a science diplomat, and what led you to come to be here in India now at the embassy.
Thank you so much. I'll try to be short. First thing to say, maybe it's that I'm not a diplomat myself. I'm a researcher. I'm a physicist by training, actually, and I belong to the CNRS, French National Research Center, that same as Srini, in applied physics. And actually, I had 20 years of career as a researcher in many places, but mainly in the southwest of France, Toulouse, as a plasma physicist. So I don't know if everybody knows who is a plasma, what is a plasma. Maybe I won't start classes on that, but just briefly, plasma is the fourth state of the matter. So, and my field of competencies was to work on the cold plasma at atmospheric pressure and to apply this plasma to processes for surface treatment. So I worked with a lot of companies for treating materials in order to change their surface properties and to study the plasma physics also that belongs with it. So after these 20 years as a researcher, I wanted to go and see something different. And this is a very nice thing that Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs offers, is that they offer a position as an attaché for science and higher education or everywhere in the world. And these offers are mainly devoted for professors at university or researchers from research center like CNRS. So I applied and I had the chance to be seconded for the Ministry of for Europe and Foreign Affairs 5 years ago. So I had first 4 years in South China, in Guangzhou, near Hong Kong, where I was there attaché for higher education and scientific cooperation. And following this experience in China, I had the opportunity to go in this wonderful country, which is India, and to be here as a deputy counselor for education, science, and culture. So, of course, I deal with affairs related with higher education and scientific cooperation, but not only. At the French Institute in India, we're also dealing with cultural cooperation, educational cooperation, the French language, high education cooperation, and research and innovation, of course. So I won't be too long now, but of course we can discuss in more detail after if you want. But here is the brief introduction of myself, I would say.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. And it's very interesting, that your own background as a researcher, which you can bring now into your work as a scientific attaché as well. And Srini, there are similarities, people say you also yourself still are a researcher, but you also are working within the field of science cooperation. So please, Srini, enlighten us about your background as well, please.
Yeah, my background is slightly different because basically I'm from India originally, and I was born in Maharashtra, Solapur, and then because we spoke Kannada, we moved to Karnataka, and then I did my veterinary school in Bangalore. And during the third year of veterinary school, we had such a good professor or professors in immunology that I decided that I may not be treating the sacred cows in my life. Rather, I will be switching to immunology quite soon. And soon after that, I did Master of Veterinary Science, and then started looking for an opportunity to do PhD in a well-known lab. And among the well-known labs in the world doing immunology, obviously Institut Pasteur or Pasteur Institute ranks way up there. Although there are many other institutions in Australia, in the United States, and many other countries, England, of course. But then I was lucky to get a scholarship from the French government, and then I went to France. And then people said, "Why are you going to France? Of all the countries, those days going to France was not that common." I said, "Look, PhD, I'm sure I'll get, because anyway, if you work for 3 to 4, 5 years, you will get. But maybe I may also learn a new language and know new people, and then different cultures." So off I went, and then after my PhD, I went to Southern California for a postdoc of about 2.5 years, and then came back to France and became a CNRS scientist, just like Nicolas, and led a research team in INSERM, because in France it's quite flexible. You can be a CNRS scientist, but you can work in an INSERM lab. INSERM is equivalent of ICMR in India. And so after more than 30 years of doing active science, with a lot of collaboration with India, of course, there was an opportunity. CNRS was looking for a representative or a director for the bureau here in Delhi, where I'm sitting right now. And they said, "Well, here is an opportunity." And then I said, why not? And here I am since last 5 years, enjoying every bit of it, and learning a lot. Every day is a learning experience, but enjoying, and then probably giving back to my country of origin something that I have. So this is what is my background.
So did you guys know each other already before, or did
No.
you meet in India?
No. Okay. We can say that CNRS, there is 30,000 people working at CNRS. Okay. So no, we didn't have the luck to meet each other. We were not in the same city. Srini is in Paris, I'm in Toulouse. But yes, what is fun is that we had some common friends. So we discovered that when we arrived in India, actually.
Yeah, but Nicolas Gherardi is so famous. I should have known him, but somehow I did not meet him.
Okay. But good that both of you are now here and really pushing forward the Indo-French collaboration. You just had also a very interesting knowledge summit last week, and maybe we can also come back to that. But let's continue with Nicolas. You already mentioned, Nicolas, that you worked already within research and also at the Embassy of France in China. So your past experience as a researcher, but also already working with the ministry, how is that now helping you in your current work? That experience, how do you see it here in India for you? Is it helping you, or do you have to de-learn everything and start from new here? Because the Indian scientific community environment is of course different from the Chinese, but please tell us a bit about that. How is it for you right now with your experience?
Yes. This is a difficult question, actually, and the answer is not so easy. First, of course, each time you start a new position in a new place, you have to learn again, and you have to come with fresh eyes and fresh ideas, so that you don't get too polluted, I would say, with what you have seen. And of course, in this respect, India is very different from China, from Canada, from Russia, from France. But there are common things. What is interesting, of course, is the fact I've been a researcher. I'm still a researcher, even if I don't do a lot of research right now, I have to confess. To be a researcher, it helps to understand how complicated it is to build research cooperation, for example. It helps to understand that it has to be bottom up and not always top down when our authorities, of course, think about top down things. So it helps definitely. It helps also because all the partners with whom I'm discussing in the universities, even if it's VCs, they are professors and researchers themselves. So of course, it's kind of community, you know, that you share something, you share the love for research, the love for science. And so definitely it helps to have this connection, this personal connection, I would say. After, from my Chinese experience, I think what is still super useful, in fact, is the fact that I was based, I was not at the embassy, I was based in a consulate. I was in Guangzhou, which is not the capital. So I was in a consulate. And I think it's super useful for me now, because now I'm leading this big network, co-leading this big network that we have in India. But the fact that I've been myself in a consulate, it helps to know how it is to be isolated in a consulate. So it helps to understand my attaché, who are my colleagues who are in Mumbai, in Bangalore, how do they feel, how do they work, and in this big network. And so to not forget to this network, this work in network, I would say. And so the fact of having been on the other side helps me a lot I hope, to better interact with them also on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that I think that also Srini, you could agree on that. This is it is an advantage, of course, to be a researcher yourself and then interacting with the research community, but also with the administration. So it helps a lot.
Yeah, plus the inquisitiveness, a scientist should be inquisitive, and that his curiosity, inquisitiveness, wanting to learn and meet new people and new things, that's fantastic. So I think we are both in a very suitable position. Yeah.
And I have witnessed that with you, Srini, like some places we have been traveling together and at events, and your also background as a researcher and your status. I have seen that many recognize you immediately, like he's one of us, he's a researcher himself, but he's also, representing CNRS. So when traveling with you, Srini, I often saw that many, kind of treat you as a guru in India, as a person of natural authority and, and wisdom. So could you tell us a bit about if you are using your philosophical approach also in your research as an immunologist, please?
I do not know who referred you or referred to me as Guruji. You should not always take those words for granted. Some of my friends, they say things that are not necessarily true. Okay, if they really think that I'm a Guruji or something, no. Look, see, the immune system is very interesting. The very central dogma of the immune system is to recognize what is self and non-self, or distinguish between self and non-self. Let me explain. See, during this pandemic, almost everyone became an immunologist. If you talk of immune system, immune response, thanks to coronavirus, everybody understands. Oh, immune system.
Even my mother. Other
day I was talking to the aubergine, the brinjal, the eggplant. I was buying them, and the seller of the vegetables also, he also started talking to me about antibodies. So everybody is a specialist of immunology now. So immune system is an extremely potent and a very strong system that fights and kills the microbes, pathogens that come from outside. Okay, bacteria, virus, fungus, or parasites, everything. Extremely potent. But imagine the same potent, aggressive, harsh immune system, if it directs against your own self, meaning your own, let's say the central nervous system, you may end up with multiple sclerosis, or if your own joints, then you end up with arthritis, or your pancreas, then you end up with diabetes. In other words, that immune system has to distinguish what is self, that means yourself, and what is non-self, which is foreigner, meaning all the pathogens, bacteria. If that goes wrong, if there is a miscommunication, if it misdirected, it can be dangerous. So why am I saying this? With some very fantastic immunologists in Institut Pasteur, particularly one whose name is Stratis Avramias, a Greek immunologist who is an Indophile. Actually, he has come to India. He knows India much better than many Indians. He and me and then other colleagues, we were discussing, yes, self is so important. And then if you go back, actually, it seems, I have not been there, on the gate of the temple of Apollo at Delphi, there are these inscribed words, Nyoti Soto. Nyoti Soto means know yourself. Nyoti Soto is in Greek, know thyself. So this means you have to know the self. And that self in the Greek philosophy is the self, interior self. And if you go back to the Hindu philosophy, even in Bhagavad Gita or Vedas, it says Swatmanam Janihi, meaning know yourself well. That self means deep inside yourself, Atma, your own soul. Better know yourself better, well, before you start, dictating or talking about others. So I know this is getting a little bit, it's only a chai that I had, nothing else. And so I should stop my philosophy here, but then there's a beautiful blend of philosophy even in science, whatever be the science. But in immune system, absolutely. That's where I stop. But maybe some other time.
Wonderful, wonderful perspective about the self and the non-self. And India is famous for trying to understand the reality of human life, not only the material, but also something transcendental. And we actually had Massimo Spadoni from the Italian embassy earlier at a session, a cup of tea with him. And he also brought a very strong philosophical approach to his understanding of his work. And so it would be good to maybe bring you guys one day together, and we could have like really, like in the old Greek times, we could have really like a discussion with scientists who also have a.
But I should grow beard also, I think. No, we will work on it.
Like in the Socrates time.
Socrates, yes.
So I actually wanted to ask you both how the work is divided between Nicolas, you and Srini, but I already understand that Srini's part is the more philosophical part. No, but please tell us, like, what is the difference between the activities now you at the embassy do and what Srini, who's representing CNRS in India? Like, I'm sure there are a lot of synergies, but just for the audience to understand, what are the activities which or how's the work divided between?
That's an interesting question, and actually that's not easy indeed to understand from the outside. First, I have to say that Srini is based, his office is at the French Institute in India. So we are really 20 meters from each other. We could have done actually this tea together.
Yeah, why not? You could have invited.
Okay, COVID goes. We try to and also because it's not so easy to get very good connection if we are together in one room and so on. So yes, but so we have different but complementary role, of course. As you said, we have a lot of synergy. Srini is the head of the CNRS office, which is, as we said, a research institute and one of the biggest in the world. And of course, we work very closely at the French embassy with CNRS, since due to its size, due to its the quality of the research which is done, it is the research institution that has the most cooperation in India. But this is not the only one who is there. So that's maybe a difference, and I can explain our respective role. There is, of course, a CNRS in India present, but most of our research bodies are also present in India. Physically, we have a representative of IRD, we have a representative of INRAE for agriculture, we have a representative of CEA for nuclear science, we have a representative of CNES for spatial science, and the other research body, INSERM, Pasteur, we discussed about it. They don't have permanent representative, but they also work in India, of course. And so our role, I would say, at French Embassy is to work with all these research organizations and to try to help them to give visibility to the research that they are doing and to the cooperation that they are doing, to help them also discuss with the authorities. Although on that point, I have to say that with Srini, that's a bit different because he knows everyone and of course, everywhere. So it is much more him who helps us. But normally it should be in a normal world, it would be like this. But Srini, of course, knows everybody. So he doesn't need help. He doesn't need help on that. But it's rather me who need him to introduce me to these authorities. But this is more or less, yes, the difference. I would say that for the French Embassy, we are really here to help to have discussion with the authorities and to help to give visibility to the actions which are done by our research institution there. And of course, also to implement some tools which can be used by the researcher from these different organizations. So it can be, of course, scholarships, it can be a project, we discuss maybe about CEFIPRA later, it can be a mobility program for researchers. So some of these are funded directly by the embassy or by the ministers, by our ministers. And so the CNRS use, the researcher from the CNRS use some of these tools. Of course, the CNRS has also its own tools for mobility program and so on. So yes, I don't know. I'm sure Srini, you can add.
Yeah, I guess you. Yeah, Nicola, you did a beautiful summary. But then the key words for me is a complementarity, because without the embassy support, we don't have a lot of mechanisms to reach to the collaborators or the partners. Although we open the doors at CNRS, we open the doors for any collaboration, and then we have our own mechanisms, but it is perfectly complementary. We are not separable at all, because I enormously use all the mechanisms that the embassy proposes, particularly CEFIPRA. He mentioned briefly, I'll talk about CEFIPRA again, because CEFIPRA is probably one of the most beautiful and enviable bilateral mechanisms that exist. And we use enormously the support of CEFIPRA. And CEFIPRA should not be confused for CNRS. CNRS should not be also confused for what Nicola and his team propose. So we all work in complementarity. And whereas Nicola, of course, through the ministry is involved in CEFIPRA, we use the word help from CEFIPRA, and Nicola provides other mechanisms that he just now mentioned, the Raman Sharpak, the Sharpak Fellowship, the IFEL, many other mechanisms. So there is sometimes whenever I speak to people, scientists, they think that we are a funding agency. No, unfortunately, we are not funding agency, but we are a research agency. We have our own mechanisms to collaborate to some extent, but we strongly depend on the tools and the financial means that Nicola through the embassy propose and through CEFIPRA. So this way we are inseparable but complementary to each other. Voila.
And also it gives you a very strong presence, and you both you have actually not only you have the embassy, you have CNRS, you also have Institut Français, you have Alliance Française, you have Campus France here. Like there's so many French actors in India, and also we know that the history of Indo-French collaboration is going way back in times and is very strong and it's ever growing. So that's, I think, great for you to be here right now, and as you said, you complement each other very well. And we would like to know a bit more about what in the last years. Srini, of course, you've been here since time immemorial, right? But Nicola, you have also been here now for since 2019, right? You've been
No. I'm here since 15 months. I arrived in September 1 year ago.
1 year. So 1 year you've been here. Okay. So like that makes time immemorial plus 1 year. So what we wanted to know, like Srini and also Nicola, you could also come in, is about the collaboration between India and France in the past, in the present. What have been, the successes which you would immediately think of, and what have been the challenges also for the Indo-French collaboration? Like, so just for us to understand, because we always ask these questions also to other member states, and it's just for us interesting to see what is your perspective on.
Yeah, thanks. Let me put down my points, and maybe Nicola can complement if he wants to. So before that, there's one point that I would have liked to add during the previous question, how the way we work with the CNRS and the embassy. Let's not forget the component of the European Union. We depend enormously also on you and EURAXESS, European Union, and the ERC grants or the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions and other European mechanisms. Obviously, we cannot forget, without Europe, we have heard this statement many times. Europe is a must. Now, coming back to this, the so-called challenges and successes of collaborations between France and India. Let me start with a slightly depressing tone first. A depressing one, slightly, okay? It's a challenge. See, what I do whenever I go to, maybe you have witnessed this, whenever we go to any university or any organization throughout, we have done that either just by myself as a CNRS representative, or along with Tanya and her boys and girls when we go to regional tours all over the country. I do this exercise. You know what I do? I show first, I say there is a 15-second quiz. I show the pictures of Oxford University. Everybody says, yes, of course they know. Cambridge, everybody knows. And then I said, okay, Caltech, Harvard, California University, and then all those major universities. And then, oh yeah, of course, everybody knows. And they're very proud of knowing all these American universities. And I said, how about Milwaukee University, or Saskatoon or Saskatchewan, somewhere in a small village of Canada? Oh, they seem to know it. I mean, some hands raised. And suddenly I break the ice. I say, how about Sorbonne University? And that's when it's a big silence. And that's when my heart starts bleeding. I said, how don't you know? There are great scientists that it has generated. And one of the oldest universities, and people like Pasteur or Marie Curie and all those people, Blaise Pascal, Lavoisier, all those names in your basic physics, chemistry, biology. You have heard these names. These are also French people. They come from those universities. Why is that you don't know about this? This is slightly depressing. There may be many reasons. We are talking about France and French, the language, many other barriers. Whereas in India, we are deeply influenced by Anglophone culture for obvious reasons. Everybody understands the British culture, and then later on taken over by American culture because of the language. So somehow France seems to have been left out slightly but then we are making up. We are making up for that, because that was only a small depressing tone. But ever since we have started working together, there have been beautiful pockets of collaboration. Once you get to know how to work with France, you will never separate. We have fantastic collaborations now, lots of success stories to tell. You only started the history of Indo-French relations in science goes back, to André Weil, and you will see that soon. Incidentally, we are going to have the exposition of the Indo-French relations and the history of Indo-French relations this is going to come soon. Okay, keep your eyes open, because it is going to be exhibition in 5 major cities of the country, where we will display how the evolution of the Indo-French history of Indo-French relations, scientific relations. But then coming to the success stories, very briefly, we have been extremely successful in, as I said, mathematics research. In Indian Institute of Science, we have a very high level collaboration on applied mathematics. It's called Indo-French Center for Applied Mathematics. We have one other mathematics and computer science called RELAX, RELAX, and that is in Chennai. And then we have very solid research on water, on space research with ISRO, for example, or nuclear sciences, chemistry, biological sciences in NCBS Bangalore, for example. And let's not forget social sciences and humanities, where we are doing very well right here. Actually, next, I can touch that wall. They are there, the Centre CSH, Center for Social Sciences and Humanities. and there are several CNRS and other scientists sitting there right here in Delhi and doing fantastic work on statistics, on epidemiology, on geography, many common areas of societal challenges. And then down there in Pondicherry, Institut Français de Pondicherry, this also is historical. I mean, it started in 50s, you see, and that institute is doing so well in Indology, in biodiversity, and many other areas. And therefore, yes, answer to the question. And more recently in Ashoka University with Jacques Rouleau and Gilles Vernier, there is a lot of work going on even in social sciences and humanities, not to be forgotten. Plus, we have the CEFI Prize, a symbol of success. Voila, this is mixed bag. A little bit of depression now and then when I go to some small, let's say what we call as a 2-tier cities or somewhere, or in where everybody doesn't know about the French science or French research institutions. But that's what my job is. I mean, it's if they don't know, it's my fault. I should go there again and again and tell them. We'll do that.
Exactly. If I may add just a few words, because Srini has been very complete, so I won't add a lot, but yes, we have success stories since a long time. France is the fifth scientific partner of India in terms of co-publication, for example. But yes, what has to be done? We have 600 partnerships, for example, between French universities and Indian universities, which involve most of the time research centers, of course. We have more or less 20 joint laboratory, I would say well-structured partnerships between France and India in all the fields that just Srini told about, water, mathematics, and social and humanities, social sciences and humanities. So we have also 28 private R&D research center from French companies towards India. So we have already a quite good footprint, I would say, in India. The point is, yes, we still have to let the Indian knows that sometimes they are working with French, even without knowing it, I would say, or even knowing that it is, of course, the researcher himself, no, but I would say around him, nobody knows. So this is our role to make this better known and to increase, of course, this footprint, but we discussed maybe that just after.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That sounds very, very interesting, also very impressive, Nicolas, what you were just mentioning with the labs and, the collaboration, which seems to be very strong. And of course, Srini, you're right. I've been to some of your quizzes, and surprisingly, even if they don't know Sorbonne, but they know Srini Kaveri. So maybe I think the French embassy has to use Srini's brand, for a campaign. I don't know, some magic is there with Srini. Wherever I've been, there's not one single institute where people don't know him. Like, it's mysterious Srini. Yeah. But we already are now a bit we have been in the past, we've been in the present. We also want to know, what is the road ahead, Nicolas? I will start with you. When it comes to Indo-French collaboration and research innovation, what will be the focus in the next years? What is France really interested to work with Indian partners? Which are the areas where you see future research going to happen strongly?
Okay, that's easy to be original. That's not easy to be original on this question, I would say. No, but first thing is to say that of course India is a major partner for France. This is important to say, because if we look, we're in India right now, but from the French point of view, India's weight in research and innovation is already significant today, but it will become really even more important in the future. India will play a major role, if not a leading role, in the international research and innovation. And France, alongside with its European partners, I would say, it's not only France, is keen, want to be one of India's major partners. So this is the goal. So how do we do that, and on which topics? The topics, I would say, they are numerous. But we already said some of them. It could be, and if you had looked maybe the Knowledge Summit last week, so this Knowledge Summit was to I would say a forum, scientific forum, in order to ask the scientists from France and India to think together and to make recommendations on which topic we have to work on. And if you look to the topics which has been addressed, it was One Health, it was artificial intelligence, it was marine sciences, of course, which is super important here in India. It was sustainable energy, green chemistry. I can add, of course, agriculture, food and nutrition, which is a super important topic both in India and in France. So this field of research, and we said social humanities, of course, is another one. So all these topics, we want to address all these topics because the country, we say continent, is huge. The possibilities are huge, and we have researchers in France on all these topics, and we want to be here and to work with our Indian partners on all these topics. Maybe the question is maybe more, how do we do that, and how do we do to address all these things? We already know, we already work a lot. We want maybe to have more connection also between academia and industry. I know that this is a goal also from India, and so we are keen to work on that with CEFIPRA, for example, who has this project academia plus industries, French and Indian ones, partners. So we are trying to work within what we call the R&D club, Research and Development Club, to put in connection these the French companies and the Indian companies, are also startups and also academia, to know each other and to try to find some common interest to develop some collaborative partnership, I would say. After, we have the tools that we talked about already, and these are scholarships with our short mobility program. There is the CEFIPRA. The CEFIPRA, there is more than 3 million euro, which is spent by the DST and by the French Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs in order to fund collaborative research between French researchers and Indian researchers. And of course, there is also I hope very soon again, the Horizon Europe projects, and which are fantastic tools, of course, for the Europeans, but I hope very soon for the Indians also partners, so that they can use these programs. For now, they can use the ERC, they can use the Curie scholarships, but I think it's quite not completely set for the full programs of research, but I hope it will be the case for the next call for projects. So yes, it's difficult to be really original, I would say, on where we go. We go where the humanity needs to go. It's on big societal challenges, which are multidisciplinary. And so we hope to face, I didn't discuss about climate change, but of course, this is a major topic also for France and India. And so the idea is to work together to face this challenge and to propose some solution for the future, not only for France, for India, but for the world worldwide, I would say. I don't know if you want to complete, Srini, maybe on more concrete things that CNRS want to do in the next years, I would say.
Yeah, you are perfect. They are in line with the societal challenges, and we keep saying we are strategic partners. So artificial intelligence and applied to agriculture and all those you have already mentioned. Yes, now I think you have completed the whole panoply of all the activities that we would like to take up for the future. And the MOPGA is there, and then of course under the MOPGA, Indian scientists also benefited and contributing in terms of climate change. No, I think you completed the panoply, yes.
Maybe there is one thing that I can add. It's just a remark also, saying that I think we have, I don't remember the exact figures, but each year, I try to find the figures, but each year we have more or less 70,000 PhD students in France. We have 29,000 coming from abroad, which is more than 40%. This is huge. And if we look even to physics, to really science, if I exclude the humanities and social sciences, I would say this ratio is even higher. I think it's around 60% of foreign PhD students. But there is one thing which is not normal at all. There is only 300 students coming from India. So we can see that we still have a lot to work on to bring new PhD student in France, and of course it can be joint PhD. I think this is the future, and I think the NEP allow that much more easily than it was in the past. So I hope that in the very near future we'll have joint PhD between France and India, and this will be the key from my point of view to really build solid and partnership in the future, because of course it starts with the human exchanges, and if you have a PhD who was linked with both countries in his PhD, he will keep the memory of that all his life, and I'm sure that it will bring more and more collaboration in the future. So the student, I would say, mobility and the student partnership is a super important factor, I would say. And on that point of view, France has to, we have to make things better in the near future.
Well, great. Thank you so much for giving us an kind of an overview and an outline of what the strategic focus will be. And you, of course, Nicolas, you're right. Basically these days countries are following, of course, what are the needs of humanity, what are the societal challenges, and how to tackle that, and how to use technologies to kind of find solutions. And of course, from a European Union perspective, what you were mentioning, of course, of artificial intelligence, green tech, sustainability, and everything, that kind of course, also is echoed in the research of the research environment of the member states. But I wanted to ask you, because there is a strong tradition of social sciences and humanities in France, and also in the Indo-French collaboration. We see, as Srini mentioned, of course, with the Institut Français, and there is has been traditionally a very strong focus also on social sciences and humanities. So how do you see the role of social sciences and humanities in finding answers to societal challenges, or also to kind of analyze the application of these new technologies in different sectors, as in the agriculture, and also because France has that kind of also strong background with social sciences and humanities. And how would you see the role, if you have an opinion on that?
Well, that's taking. Now I'll just take a wide shot. Obviously, the social scientists, they work very closely. Now more and more interdisciplinary research is there, and transdisciplinary. I think the answer to your question is how closely the scientists like artificial intelligence or mathematics or statisticians, right here, the statisticians and then the epidemiologists, they work all together. So my answer to your question will be the more and more interdisciplinary research, and that's exactly what we are going to focus. And we are, in fact, with CNRS, at CNRS, we are thinking of opening an interdisciplinary research center, or at least negotiating that with the Indian Institute of Science, where all these elements will come into picture, not just the basic or hardcore scientists, but we work very closely with the social scientists and ask the questions from their viewpoint and see how science can help answer those queries. And in fact, that's happening in IFP, Institut Français Pondicherry, because there are scientists who are working, for example, using the satellite images in water research, satellite images, but asking some very interesting basic questions of social sciences. So yes, answer to your question, interdisciplinarity, I would say. Maybe Nicolas has other ideas, but
that's the key point. I think we won't be able to answer to the societal challenges without researcher from social sciences and humanities. Again, if I talk about Knowledge Summit last week, we had one workshop on marine sciences, for example, and it was very important from my point of view that some people from IFP, not only, but from the French Institute in Pondicherry, were there to discuss about their studies on the impact on the coastal, I would say, the impact of our activities on the coastal ecosystems. And I think this is super important that we have this transdisciplinary approach in order to face and to find solutions, especially when we talk about AI and so on. Of course, the societal impacts are so huge for one health the same. I think the solution is really to stop to think about discipline as in parallel, but really to work together and to give more space, more visibility also to the wonderful work which is done by our colleagues in the humanities and social sciences. And you're right, I think in France we have this chance that already several of our research institute and so on, they are built like this, I would say. Not enough maybe, but it's already the case since several years, and I thought it will increase in the future. And this is something also that we can share with our Indian counterparts in order to have the same kind of approach, I would say.
One quick word, Samrat. I mean, in line with what just Nicolas said about the marine sciences, in the last week's Knowledge Summit, there was also one full session, or actually 3 days, on One Health. One Health encompasses practically everybody. I mean, we brought in the social scientists, we have been all areas, because One Health literally means you cannot discuss only human health or animal health or plant health, environment. Everyone was there, and then they all they chipped in. It was a fantastic gathering, and thanks to Ambika and François Xavier, that was a beautiful session, 3 days, a lot of interesting discussions. Anyway, interdisciplinary. Sorry, I made my answer.
No, I think very, very valuable, and I think very interesting also for those from social science and humanities background to see that the importance of the disciplinarity, and also to be very inclusive in science, to find answers, common solutions to the problems we're facing. So I'm very happy to hear that from both of you. And I think this Knowledge Summit, seems it was amazing. I have to say, congratulations to that. And will there be recording available for those maybe who have missed it? So are there any, will you upload those webinars and work?
It is recorded. We should be able to process that, edit that properly, and then bring it out. I guess Nicolas and Olivier, Fudim, and Amruta, they must be working on it.
Actually, if you want, yes, it's recordable for 1 week from now. For everybody, if you go on the platform, you will be able to see it again. But yes, we will also download and maybe do a small summary. We try if it's possible
Okay.
At least if you want, if you attend, of course, only one of the workshop, and you want to attend it to the 6 others which are in parallel, don't hesitate. This is still possible for 6 days.
Yeah, Ambika just now said it is available from tomorrow onwards.
Okay, great. So we will also, share that information with our community. I think it's great. Maybe some have missed it, so it's a great opportunity to go back and listen to these exciting, interesting webinar sessions you had. Okay, we still have a few more minutes, and I thought, to kind of conclude our talk, it would be also nice to bring some more cultural, personal perspective into it from you. And I wanted to ask Srini, you have lived in both countries for a significant amount of time. And are there any similarities between the La Vie Française and Indienne? How do you see life in France and life here in India? Share a bit about that.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting question, actually. I mean, I'll take off the hat of a diplomat or a scientist and see if
Please take off your tie as well.
Oh, my tie too. Yes. If I look at it at a more social level, there are quite a few common features between India and France, or La Vie Indienne, La Vie Française, as you said. The one that comes to my mind first, I don't know which order, but then I think we both, I mean the French and we Indians, or we Indians and French people, both are opinionated, and meaning if you are sitting around a dinner table, the discussions can be quite engaging and quite opinionated, which is not always the case elsewhere. I lived in the United States also for 3 years. So in that sense, one thing that strikes to me, one similarity is the opinionated people. Then another thing that is very interesting is the family. One thing that I used to hear 40 years ago before I went to France and then started living there. Oh, you know what? In the Western countries, it seems you have to take an appointment to see your parents, and the parents have to take an appointment with their children if they have to meet. That sounded very amusing at that time to me. And no, it can't be true. You know what? We have family in the north of France, in Picardy region, and in the place where we live. I mean, we have about 4 or 5 neighboring villages. There are families spread out all those villages, and it is not at all surprising to see the family. Some people or the uncles or aunties or the cousins just walking in. If it's an aperitif time, we have an aperitif. If it's a lunch or dinner time, whatever, we share it. So to me, that same concept, which is in India, it's the family, how close family life and family relations are, and that I enjoy, and it is something that I really, it's very dear to me. That's something nice. And other thing, obviously, French and Indian, they both are very proud of the cuisine, isn't it? The Hyderabadi is proud of his biryani. A Kannadiga like me is proud of bisibele bhat. But then in France, when you come in Alsace, you have a wholesome choucroute, and they're very proud of the choucroute in Alsace. If you go to Picardy, you have ficelle Picardy in Bourgogne, the boeuf bourguignon, etc. And the other, both Indians and in French are cinephile and arts and fine arts, literature. Yeah, we share quite a few commonalities, I would say. I don't know what you would think, but anyway, let me finish on a very lighter note, if you allow me. I don't know whether you had the chance of going into a Tahsildar's office or a district or Taluk Tahsildar's office for some administrative problems. They would have piles of those yellow dossier or brownish dossier because they would be waiting there for years and years to be sorted out. If you go to Prefecture de Police, it is the same. I mean, it is the same complex and very difficult and very heavy, formalities. It's fun at the same time. It can take time. So there is one saying that pourquoi faire simple quand on peut faire compliqué? In English it means why make it simple when you can make it complicated? On a lighter tone, of course.
I like this phrase. And Srini, please switch off your phone. We are in a chai. Sorry. Nicolas, what do you think? You came quite recently, and you also came, of course, in the pandemic. So I think maybe you didn't have that much opportunity to travel. And but from what you have now so far experienced, would you like to say something on that also? Like, how is it for you, like, to be here? And do you see any similarities? Of course, you have Srini next to you, and he's a perfect embodiment of the French and Indian life combined. But what would you say, like, you would?
Yes, you're right. I didn't, thanks to COVID and to a very first heavy year of work, I didn't travel so much in India. Sadly, I hope it will change in the near future. Actually, I have traveled a little bit since Bangalore, Coimbatore, Ahmedabad, Lucknow, Jammu Kashmir, Rajasthan a few times.
That's quite a lot already for
and Dharamshala also. So it was, but this was for private, I would say. But yes, so what can I say? The variety, this is what it's so big, so diverse, so variable from one place to another one. What is, you have such wonderful landscapes there, wonderful heritage. As Srini has said, the food is super important, and this is something that we definitely share. The drink, not everywhere in India, sadly, but okay, sorry for the sadly, I remove it. But yes, not everywhere. I had once when I was in Ahmedabad, actually, I didn't know it was a dry state before coming. And I was quite surprised that I couldn't have my beer at the evening. But anyway, no, so I don't have a lot to say, except that it is a wonderful country, that I'm so happy to be here and to share and to meet with the Indian persons. And this is, yes, the variety and the diversity, I would say. It's something which is quite impressive, but of course evident in such a huge country. But I still have a lot to discover. So please ask me this question in 3 years, and maybe I will have more interesting answers to add.
Okay, I'm noting that down, Nicolas. So we'll have you for definitely for another chai session, and that will be, a bit in 3 years, and then I will definitely come back and ask you more about. But already, you summarized it very well, the diversity, which is just sometimes very overwhelming here, but it's also a beauty and has so much potential also. And you have traveled actually quite a bit in this year, then, if you have been to so many places. So, but it's
thanks to the attaché who works very well everywhere. And I had to go, yes, and I had the chance to visit wonderful institutions. I didn't answer on that, but of course, wherever I've been, I've seen some institutions, either private or public, which were such a high level with people who want to cooperate and with high level of research. And so definitely that's a pleasure to be here, and I hope we will be able to get more partnerships.
Wonderful, and hopefully, there will be chances to travel next year, together maybe, and do some visit some institutions. And so we are actually almost towards the end, and time really flew. I was maybe worried. No, honestly, I knew that it will be a very nice talk with the two of you, and I think you both complement each other, not only on a professional level, but also I think the interaction, the conversation was very nice, a good flow, and I know that you are running off to another tea.
Yes.
You have to go there. So let's just quickly see if the audience has come in. I saw a few questions coming in from the audience, and I just take one now. There's a startup company getting into pilot scale innovative product. And we're wondering if there's any way to find French investments for an Indian startup transforming into next phase of development. Is there any kind of calls, or is there any possibility for Indian startups, to get funding from France?
Yeah, Nicola, you want to take it? It's up to you. Up to you.
Go if you have a.
Yeah, no, I have one thought, which is, you see, with with CEFIPRA, there is a possibility of having what is called industry academy related projects. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if you have an idea which is already patented and you have taken it to a good level, and if you want to implicate a French involvement, and even a French startup company or something, we have 2+2 model of working, which is very interesting, and then fantastic projects have been funded under that. What you have to do is, Jagan Mohan, is you have to get in touch with, of course, with us also, but then with academic partners, possible academic partners in France and here, and then discuss with the startups. They will help also, and then sit together and see how you can conceive and take this project to the next level with an implication of the French startup or the French industry. We will discuss that more in detail. But yes, answer to your question, there is a possibility of working together. Yes.
Great.
This is complete, I would say, from the research. If we discuss really about research, if we discuss purely about investment, I would say this is something different, but this is not our sectors. I would say it have to be discussed maybe with business funds to see what is feasible from the really purely funding point of view for investment.
And some questions came regarding PhD and postdoc opportunities in France, like fellowships. Maybe just briefly you could.
Yes, very quickly, we can say there are several ways to get funded to have a PhD in France. If you're already a PhD in India, there is mobility program, which is mainly the Raman Sharpak scholarships, which you can find on the CEFIPRA website. There is also other type of scholarships for mobility. There is the FL scholarship, for example, which helps if you're already a student in India and you want to go and study in France. After, if you're not yet a PhD student in India, you're a master student and you want to do a PhD in France, of course, there are a lot it's not anymore scholarships, it is really a salary, which are funded by mainly, they are not only, but mainly the Minister of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. We fund more or less, I don't have the figures, but it's, I think it's 10,000 grants, something like that, per year, at least. Which are funded by the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. It's not so easy to get the list of these PhD possibilities, I would say. So what I would advise, I would say, it's first to find, depending on the topics, of course, it's first to find a research lab which can host you and discuss with researcher from this host lab. This is the easiest. So if you have yourself, the PhD, the master student, if he knows already, maybe with professor here in India, they can know maybe some professors and research labs in France, and after to get touch in them and to see if there are possibilities to get funded to get one of these grants, I would say. Also, this is too late for now, but once a year or twice a year, we do a PhD tour. So don't hesitate to look to the French Institute in India website, where we have all these information which are given in order to help and guide, I would say, the students who want to do a PhD in France. And don't hesitate to look right now, because there are many information. And last but not least, don't hesitate also to go and discuss with our Campus France managers. We have 12 Campus France offices spread in India. So again, you go on the website and everything is written, and you can discuss directly with them. They are not there normally to really oriented for PhD, because they deal more with bachelor and master degree, I would say, but they know very well the French landscape. So definitely they can be a point of contact if you really want to look for studies in France, even at the PhD level. So don't hesitate to get in touch with them, I would say. To do
That's
short,
great.
I would say that.
Yeah, maybe Nicolas, you could quickly just put it in the chat. Maybe the link or the names where they could search.
Okay. And of course, there are also all the European program. Again, I don't discuss about that, but this is super important. And there is many scholarship, many European program which allows to go not only in France but in Europe. Because from my point of view, if you go to France, you go to Europe, and that's great. Of course, if you go to France, please go and visit. But if you go to Italy or to Germany, these are wonderful countries also for the research and innovation. And don't hesitate to pass through France at that time. So there are these European programs which are super important, the Erasmus Plus for the masters and so on. So don't hesitate to go and visit also the European programs. I will give just the address of the French website, French Institute in India website in the
Perfect. Yeah, great, perfect, great. And you will find a lot of. And I have to say, of course, Srini, Nicolas, and the entire team, is very approachable. There's Bangalore, I know there's Anupama, and they're really great people, and you can definitely get a lot of help and information from them. So we are at the end. There was one more question, a very cultural question, Srini, and I think the person who is interested to know more about French culture should maybe contact you privately.
Yes. Yeah, whatever little culture I have, but I spread it, like confiture. A little you have, more you spread, I will spread it. Yes.
Please, Srini, please get in touch with Dr. Kaveri about this cultural approach to French people, how to, impress French people. I'm sure he has some. We will not take this question now because of time constraints, and it should go more into a private talk. Thank you so much, both of you. It was a great pleasure. I think we could go on, but as I said, these two gentlemen are very wanted. They have to go to another meeting and to another tea session. I wish you all of you a very nice afternoon, and thank you, and a morning for maybe who have been joining us from Europe. And thanks so much for joining, and hope to see you soon, all of you. And now you have the faces behind France. The Nicolas and Srini. These are the two guys you should look out for. And okay, thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Samrat. It was fantastic.
Bye.
It was very nice. Yes.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
See you soon. Yes.
See you soon. Yeah. Enjoy your tea.